Hi, I'm Kirk Jowers, and I'm thrilled to be joined by Tim Valentiner, doTERRA Vice President of Global Strategic Sourcing, and Bishnu Adhikari, the doTERRA Director of CoImpact Sourcing. Tim and Bishnu, thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Our pleasure to be here.
I wish we were in Nepal or Guatemala or Kenya or some other place to do this, but we'll take what we can get. I'm thrilled to be with you today.
That's right. Thank you very much.
Now, Tim and Bishnu, you along with the amazing sourcing team that we have here at doTERRA have really been the pioneers to bring this CoImpact sourcing vision to reality. So first, tell me a little bit about your professional background before coming to doTERRA and how it prepared you to do this work. Tim, I'll start with you. Tell us a little bit about your professional background before coming to doTERRA and how it prepared you to do this work.
Thank you. Thankfully to my parents, was able to grow up in a family that really prioritized and starting at a very young age, taking us on unique experiences at beginning in rural Mexico to participate in village development and community projects. And so community development and poverty eradication has always kind of been a north star of sorts for our family and has translated for me personally and professionally. And I'm really so grateful for parents that really prioritize that for our family. And it's really guided and directed to what I've tried to accomplish later on in life. Living in Bolivia for 2 years was also a unique opportunity, living in the lowlands and highlands and being able to immerse yourself in any place or culture for an extended period of time has a profound effect. But trying to just really carry that motivation through college and into undergraduate pursuits and studies, and then trying to do some good and make a difference in job and professional opportunities once school is finished.
You are joined by an incredible human being, and Bishnu, tell us a little bit about your life and what led you to this spot.
Hey, I don't have anything like Tim had, but
you had far more, Bishnu. You actually legitimately had far more than I do.
Yeah. Grew up in a rural mountain of Nepal. Turned my hopes and dreams to reality by hard work and education, and of course some good luck in the way. I got a scholarship to go to Russia for my civil engineering degree. Upon my return, I worked for the Nepalese government and then the international development component of the US government called USAID. And that was an incredible experience to reach out to the many community in that impoverished country of Nepal to help with projects. After that, I came to California for my another master degree in Monterey. And upon completion, I went back to Nepal and worked for a nonprofit called Choice Humanitarian. Yeah. Later, I rejoined USAID. In the meantime, I have multiple opportunities to consult for the World Bank to help them implement poverty and agriculture-related projects. And now it's a full circle to come to doTERRA with that experience to be able to work in the CoImpact sourcing program that would impact millions of people in many different countries. And I hope to draw from that experience and education to make it expanded to many sourcing locations around the world.
Earlier in this session, we learned about Haiti as a key part of the genesis for the CoImpact sourcing model. How did Haiti and other sourcing initiatives around that time lead to defining what has become our sourcing guiding principles and adopting this model in other parts of the world? Tim?
In terms of CoImpact sourcing model development, and Haiti was such a big part of that genesis. And really 6 years ago, when we, when Emily and Brandon and I were able to go to Haiti, it really was trying to identify opportunity, and there was clearly a massive opportunity there in terms of filling a lot of the gaps of what a lot of good things had been started already, but we really, with our partner, but we saw that there was opportunity to do more. And this helped lead to the vision of what, we ultimately tried to accomplish of improving our organization of our supply chain and just how and where we got our oils and being very deliberate about that. Through this, we decided to build a framework, which, now has become our sourcing guiding principles. There are 8 of them, and they really just help define what we want our partnerships to look like, how can we better prioritize farmers, and how can we make sure that everyone's being treated fairly along the whole supply chain. This is all happening through fair and on-time payments, through prepayments at times when needed, through trainings, through investments that we can make on the ground with our partners or even on our own in some cases where necessary, and ultimately just providing a commitment to the people that we're working with, that they know that we're committed to them and that they can have the security and knowledge and know that they can commit to us as well.
Some of my most meaningful experiences in my life, and certainly with doTERRA, have been on CoImpact sourcing trips. Most recently, I was in Kenya and spent a day with a man named Samuel Agira. He has a wife, 3 children, and 7 people work on 2 acres of land growing geranium and tea tree, and he has 2 more acres he's trying to get into our system. I think he has now, Taylor reported back, and that's going to employ yet another like 4 to 5 people. And he talked about, as we were laying our mulch, our all-natural mulch on there, about how just the on-time fair payment has completely changed his life, because it used to be unpredictable. He'd have to wait maybe 6 months. Who knows how much you'd get at the end of that. And so the ability to just plan your lives, we take for granted, but doTERRA revolutionized that. And I'm so proud of you two for leading that charge. So talk to me about what makes doTERRA different, why it is important that we have these sourcing guiding principles, and how they provide our partners with a framework and promise for pure business practices.
So in terms of how and where we're sourcing, we are always focused first and foremost on purity, of course. We have to have purity, and we have to have CPDG quality wherever we're working, no matter where that is around the world. That's sourcing the best. We have to.
Right.
But we also care deeply about where we're sourcing these oils, not just for the purity component, but also who can we lift and benefit along the way throughout this process. And that's where we bring in the helping the most with, sourcing the best and helping the most. So at doTERRA, we're very cognizant of this, of course, and want to continue to being a true leader as it relates to sustainability and fairness, but also ensuring that our ethos as a company is really driving and directing what we do as a company, not just what we say or market or talk about, but what we are truly meaningfully implementing throughout our supply chain and through how we act and how we treat all of our supply partners.
Thank you, Tim. I would like to add a little more on that.
Please.
As we talk about in our definition of co-impact sourcing, there need to be shared value for all throughout the supply chain, where we are working around the world in now actually 45 plus countries. This framework allows us to responsibly work in a diverse sets of countries, including developing countries, where we can empower and help more people.
What was it about doTERRA that made you feel like you could do even more good coming here rather than continuing your great work that you were doing? What was the attraction? What was the hook that brought you over to us?
My passion to reach out to different cultures and understand their motivation and challenges, how they do their business.
Right.
Especially in dealing with the poverty and social issues. I had enough experience in the country of Nepal, and I wanted to replicate those examples around the world. And doTERRA gave me a perfect venue for this. As we are an agriculture-based company, and many of the poor around the world depend on agriculture, and it's a perfect venue for them to start growing new crops that they have a fixed market with doTERRA. So it's a business solution to the poverty.
Well, and President Obama's top person in Africa said something that really hit me at the time. And again, I'd never even heard of doTERRA when I heard her speech, but she said $1 of money earned by someone in Africa was worth at least $5 given by a nonprofit. And that really took a while for me to understand it, but thanks to you and Tim, I'm starting to figure it out a little bit more. And so let me jump back into how exactly do these sourcing guiding principles work in practice? Why is this a solution to end poverty?
Well, tying into that and what you just mentioned, but and together with Bishnu's comment on that, so much of the world are farmers, and they need agricultural opportunities to step forward. So the small farmer family you met in Kenya is a perfect example of this. They have 4 acres of land.
Right.
They've probably been growing corn, maize, maybe some other types of cassava or some other just staple crops to eat.
Right.
For generations. And they are maintaining and staying at their poverty level because
it's just subsistence.
It's subsistence, and they have very little access, if any, to sell their products in the market. What we're able to provide through our sourcing efforts, what doTERRA can provide, is by teaching and training these farmers that continue to grow some subsistence crops, but we're going to give you seedlings. We're going to give you tools through mobile apps. We're going to bring trainers, field officers that are coming to visit you regularly, and we're going to teach you how to grow this crop called geranium. You can't eat it, so it's a risk for them to pull out the crops they can eat and survive on to grow a crop that they can't eat.
Right.
And because of this, there's usually a very, there's hesitancy, there's reluctancy to partner, to go down this route. But like you saw, when they do this, and the first time they sell the geranium to the collectors that we work with that are from the distillery that come and help them harvest it at the right time, and they cut it and they weigh it and they receive a payment on their mobile phone that day or the next day, they are very eager to start planting the rest of their fields, their other 2 acres, to geranium or tea tree or other crops, because this is often the first time ever in their lives, in many generations, that they are receiving, they're planting a cash crop, and not just any cash crop, a value-added agricultural crop that's leading to a product where we can afford to pay them a very fair price and much more than they would make by growing subsistence crops and trying to sell them in the local markets, along with the 10 or 100,000 other neighbors who are doing the exact same thing.
And to your point, this guy has gone from a dirt floor to a nice home with even a stone wall around it. And I asked him, is that because of crime? Are you worried about crime? And he said, no, elephants. So different challenges we each have. But
in that part of the world, elephants are the rodents that are messing up their gardens.
Right.
Yeah. So in terms of how, this is exactly how these sourcing guiding principles work. I mean, this is providing commitments, this is providing fair and on-time payments and prepayments and training, and it changes lives for generations, and it's incredibly meaningful, but it's a matter of trying to overcome the reluctancy or the fear that they might have, because many a times they might have been burned in the past.
Right.
Some of these other ways, other sourcing guiding principles in practice and in action, of our 8, another really of our 8 sourcing guiding principles, a great example is the amazing work our partners in Albania are doing with helichrysum. They had a small operation at first. We partnered with them about 4 years ago. And since then, they are now working with hundreds of farmers in northern Albania. Most of these are women farmers, which is awesome, of course. And they are able to provide the same kind of services and training, seedlings, and then long-term commitments with contracts that they can give to the farmers because we give our distiller partners the contracts and commitments to buy the oil. Our Albanian partner is now one of the most important industries in northern Albania. The Prime Minister went and visited their farm and the distillery just about a month ago because this is such a huge impetus and growth for the country.
Incredible.
This is also really exciting this year, especially because their helichrysum, the hard work that comes from Albania, is part of our new helichrysum touch that is being launched with Connection. And so we're excited to bring these years of work to all of our customers now through this amazing new product with our helichrysum touch.
Vishnu, it's not just in developing worlds. Tell me some other things that are going on with doTERRA and co-impact sourcing.
There are a few outstanding examples around the world, and I would like to share our peppermint example from India. Of course, we continue to source from Willamette Valley in Oregon, our peppermint, but we also source from northern India, where smallholder farmers are united in cooperatives, and our incredible sourcing partner who collects and distills those peppermint and provides us. It is a great example of our sourcing guiding principle in action, generating and supporting much needed jobs in one of the most impoverished states in India. They are also focused on building and supporting small farmer cooperatives because of the benefits that they can collectively receive from this model. Through this organization of the farmers, we are able to support now thousands of smallholder farmers in that part of the world.
That's fantastic.
And this is a great example of, obviously, our peppermint oil from the Willamette Valley in Oregon is beautiful and amazing, and it meets our highest qualities. But we also have a chance and an opportunity to help the most by also meeting our high CPTG standards and quality needs through peppermint oil, but doing it in a place in the world where we can have a massive, meaningful impact.
Tim, could you tell us a little bit about a supply chain that's focused on the environmental stewardship side of co-impact sourcing?
Yeah, of course. So under environmental stewardship, an entity that some have heard of over the years is now our 100% owned, 100% doTERRA owned operation in New Zealand called Aotearoa. This is for Douglas fir. This is such an awesome oil with its aroma and uses. It's one of my personal favorites, actually. And it's not just an amazing oil by itself, but it's also where it comes from and how we get this, all that goes into producing it. Douglas fir in New Zealand is an invasive species. And so through the initiative that's been set up there through our now general managers running Aotearoa, these two gentlemen had this vision years ago, and it's been so wonderful to see all this come now full circle with how we're able to take that vision and now expand it even further, of really turning what's a pest, a problem through Douglas fir as an invasive species into a unique, beautiful product that doTERRA customers are the only ones in the world that get it. Our Aotearoa managers, have been incorporating also in recent, just this past year, a truly innovative program called Waste to Wilderness that allows us to take all the Douglas fir biomass after it's been distilled, combine that with compost material and food waste and scraps from local restaurants and food production companies in the Queenstown area, take old wooden pallets used for shipping that are unused now, and they create a compost base within the wooden pallets and plant native tree and native forest plants in this square meter. You know, it's this, they're calling it, you know, our native species growing square meter by square meter.
Yeah.
And as you start this basic, this transportable square meter of native growing plants, we can then take these and plant these very easily into forest areas. So as we are removing the Douglas fir pest, turning it into a sustainable, beautiful essential oil, and then reusing full circle all of the waste products plus others and replanting now native growing plants back into the forest areas. And this is really a closed loop and a full circle method that we're gonna be able to reforest in our small way New Zealand's biodiversity and helping to maintain their unique biodiversity there. And then, of course, you can always learn more about the sourcing guiding principles that we've been talking about today on source2u.com. New and updated and fresh content always lives there, and we love to nerd out on defining these things and developing a lot of frameworks and metrics for measurement, and we can share kind of the highlights in this setting, but please visit source2u.com often. We really try to keep everyone updated there, but also share, you know, much more in terms of the scale and scope of the impact that we're having around the world through these initiatives, and of course through all of our amazing wellness advocates and customers that are really the way and means by all this to be accomplished. Without everyone playing their part in terms of education and teaching and training about the oils and you know, using the products, being conscious consumers, about being diligent about knowing where their oils and their products are coming from, it enables us to be able to have this impact through how we source our oils and to make meaningful change, and to really, our goal is to eradicate poverty and to improve livelihoods around the world, and being able to do this through our supply chains is really something unprecedented, and we hope continues to be a model for other companies and really to be a standard for what we hope to accomplish.
I've seen it firsthand, and I'm so grateful for the work that you do for these people. Once you meet them, they're a part of your heart and your life forever. You know, you mentioned Albania. I was able to go back where Bulgaria honored doTERRA as the company of the year in Washington, D.C., and their ambassador, and who's visited our site there because they felt that no company had done as much for the small farmers of Bulgaria, and that's happening across the world. And I just appreciate so much your life history and your devotion to this. And I appreciate you being with us today to explain a little more about all the care and planning that goes into how we source our oils and our collective devotion to the CoImpact sourcing model, where we are truly committed to sourcing the best and helping the most. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
There are now many places around the world where doTERRA's CoImpact sourcing is affecting hundreds of thousands of lives. As our sourcing team travels to meet with these farmers, harvesters, and distillers, we send our video team along to capture some of these stories in these communities. The exclusive doTERRA series, Behind the Bottle, premiered last year. This series provides a look at the lives of the people and the communities impacted by our CoImpact sourcing initiatives. You can now binge all 20 episodes of Behind the Bottle Season 1 in our Pursue 2020 bonus content section, as well as on the doTERRA corporate YouTube channel. Here are some highlights from Season 1.
Behind every bottle of essential oil lies a story, one of personal growth, positive impact, and lasting change. Where the moral is always love, and the motivation is always to do good. Have you ever wondered where your bottle of essential oil comes from? Who it touches and impacts along the way? This is the story behind the story. This is Behind the Bottle.
So here in Bihar, in northern India, on the border with not too far from Nepal, we've been working here in Bihar for almost 3 years on a peppermint co-impact sourcing project. And this is the distillation facility that we donated through our great partner here called Farms and Farmers. And we're working to introduce peppermint into this area of Bihar. A lot of these farmers once produced mint years ago. With the creation of synthetic carbon, they're lost their market and lost their crop. So we're helping some new farmers as well as some old farmers that used to produce mint, Mentha arvensis, to introduce Mentha peprida or peppermint here in Bihar.
So we decided to do this particular location because around this area we have many villages that cultivate in small patches. So this is more of a centralized location that is convenient for multiple villages to kind of come in. Ideally within 24 hours they should get the product to the still to get the maximum yield.
We have developed a unique model and mobile-based technology which connects farmers to their entire agricultural requirements. So small farmers, small Indian farmers, they can get access to better agricultural input, they get access to better and customized crop advisory services, and lastly they can also sell their farm produce to better market and bigger buyers. And that's how basically they experience more than 50% increment in their net income from agriculture.
Farmer comes and asks, I have a 3-acre piece of land, so what should I do with it? So we advise him, based on your geography, based on your soil content, this is the right crop for your land and this is the right time for sowing that crop. On day one, we start giving the right advisory. So right advisory reduces the price significantly and increases the profit margin.
It's all about giving hope to the community. It's all about creating more prosperity to the farmer, to their family.
We are hoping to continue to find out more practical solution to these social and economic problems in India. This is going to be a great opportunity for many to see that simple labor can change their life. This will make a greater impact in the area, and I'm looking forward to many farmers joining this effort.
doTERRA helps empower farmers, their families, and communities all over the world. We are committed to pursuing pure business practices in all we do, to source the best and help the most. But what we've talked about today is just the tip of the iceberg. Be sure to check out the exclusive Pursue 2020 bonus content section. We have in-depth interviews with some of our sourcing partners and team members, including our partners in Albania for the new Helichrysum Touch, as well as an exciting update with Dr. Osgothorpe on the Sanag Regional Hospital, benefiting the frankincense harvesting communities we work with in Somaliland. You can also take a closer look at our Indian peppermint sourcing and all that is happening in Brazil and our co-impact sourcing initiative for Copaiba. You won't want to miss seeing these bonus interviews and hearing these stories. Join us this afternoon as we dive deeper into Deep Blue and other products that help us find relief. Thank you again for joining us. We'll see you soon.